Okay, 2021 Ironman Lake Placid, arguably one of the biggest crowd favorites of them all. The athlete guide was posted yesterday, so let's dig in to some of the things that are new this year, some of the things that are going to be a little different, and how you're going to strategize and race this race course. First of all, it is one of my favorites. I usually go up there every year, but this year I will not be there. There are a load of changes this year. Transition area is going to be in a different spot. Special, or I guess they call it personal needs now. They're going to be located at a different spot. A couple of new items to talk about on the bike course. Definitely a lot to talk about on the run course. A lot has changed in this race. It's still going to be the traditional iconic Lake Placid, but we just got to talk about a couple of other things. Before we dig into that, we got to talk about the event schedule. There are a lot of unknowns as of right now. For starters over here, you see there's a virtual athlete briefing online. I'm assuming that link will become clickable at a later date. They also have an athlete briefing at the horse show grounds, which we will dig into a little bit more. So already some conflicting information. That is the first thing you need to do when you check in at the race site. Check-in's going to be at the horse show grounds again, so it'll be easy. And I would probably coordinate your check-in times around these time slots. And if it is available online, then you don't even have to be there. So that's really, really cool. If you are there in person, chances are better that your question is actually going to be answered. Athlete check-in officially opens 9 to 5 on the Thursday before the race. And this is all at the horse show grounds. You're going to have the Ironman Village over there, and the athlete briefings are going to be taking place there and or online. Friday, much of the same. Again, everything is located at the horse show grounds this year. And for those who are unfamiliar with the area, so this is Lake Placid over here. This is the oval that we traditionally finish at. This is the swim Mirror Lake. This year, the horse show grounds are going to be the major location for all of this right in here. This is where you will be running around. I would assume that a lot of it is going to be located in here, maybe on one of these other fields that are never really used when we're up there. But you won't be able to miss it when you go there. Parking is going to be a little interesting. What they might do is have you park right up in here in this parking lot over there, or they might just have you park at another spot where they can fit you in on these grounds over here. So that is going to be where check-in, where pretty much everything is leading up to the race. If you have any like bike issues, if you have anything like that, you're going to be heading to the horse show grounds a lot. And before we talk about anything else, so right over here, the Lake Placid Ski Jump Complex, the entrance is right across from the horse show grounds. Essentially, this is pretty much the town of Lake Placid. So as you can see, the main road has you going about 2.5 miles outside of town to get to the horse show grounds, and that's all by design. They are a little bit nervous about the COVID world situation right now. So what that means for you is if you reserved something like at the Mirror Lake Inn, for example, super popular stay for a lot of athletes, you're going to need to go a long ways, and I don't advise walking over there. It is definitely doable for sure, but that will just equate to a lot of time on your feet, and as most of you know, you don't want that during race week. That's going to be one of the biggest challenges leading up to the race, is just time on your feet. So if you can do a little bit more at home right now, just leading up to the race, that will help you a little bit more on race week. Typically, you're already tired from going back and forth to see everything, to do everything on race week anyways, but this is just going to add to that stress, okay? So you just got to be patient with things, plan a little extra more time, and that might take extra time away from a nap or something else that you might have been doing. So keeping that in mind, we are going to press on. The mandatory bike check-in this year, that's going to be at the Northwood School transition. I will talk about that more in detail, but just for now, the Northwood School is right over here, again, on the opposite side. So you can see transition is going to be located right in here, right? And the Athlete check-in is going to be located all the way down here. Bike or run personal needs is going to be down here. Bike personal needs is going to be down here. Won't really affect you that much. You'll be able to drop off on race morning for your personal needs bags. But as you can see, the distance covered between the two, it's pretty far without a point-to-point race. So again, just adding to the time on your feet. Again, bike and gear check-in. I've been posting in the Facebook group of people who belong to the turnaround team registered under Ironman. It's free to do. You get priority registration for the athlete check-in, which is pretty cool. Bike and gear check-in, which is great. And then the athlete briefing, last one, 11 a.m., again, at the horse show ground. So that's one of the things that you're going to want to avoid as much as you can. Just this out and back, just this back and forth on race week. I know I keep saying it, but you got to manage it really well. We'll talk about this a little bit. For instance, transition is going to open at 4:30. Shuttle buses, which I believe is the next topic that we're going to jump into, those are going to start at 4:30 as well. Drop your personal bike and run special needs. This is going to be at the Northwood transition, so you don't have to go all the way over here on race morning. Drop it off over there, and when you go in for the water, they will bus everything over here and set everything up for you on the run, so you don't have to worry about that. Warm-up swim, 6 a.m. to 6:30. The pros are going to start at 6:15, 6:20-ish. Age group starts are going to be at 6:30. So if you are one of the faster people in the swim, you're going to be starting right around that time. If not, then not. Information tent for spectators is going to open at 7 a.m. I would assume that's going to be located around the oval where you typically finish. This year, finish is going to be right here, I would assume, right beyond that crosswalk. So I would assume the information tent's going to be located somewhere over there, but just keep an eye out for that at location not determined yet. Bike cutoff is going to be 1:30 for the second lap start time, and the finish shuttle to and from transition, that's going to be 4 to midnight on Monday. 5:30 p.m. the bike course officially closes, and 6 to midnight mandatory bike and gear check out. It is important to note that you will be able to check your bike out the next day. I believe it is from 10 to noon, but we can dig into that later as we go down. That is something new they're doing just to help you out because the transition is a little bit further away. So if you finish right around midnight, don't panic. You won't be able to pick up your bike. Your bike will be available for pickup. The window might be a little small the day after, though, so just keep that in mind, and we'll talk about exactly when that is in a second. Here we go. Yep, 8 to 10, Northwood School bike and gear checkout, so right on the money there. The information tent lost and found, that's going to be at Northwood School the day after, so if you lose something that's really important to you, you're going to head up to the Northwood School and just you're probably going to have to track a couple of people down. They're going to be breaking down a lot of stuff, so you might just have to just tag a couple of people and ask for the information stuff in Lost and Found. They usually give it to you in a box, and you go for it. Okay, so return to racing. Essentially, you need to know you're pretty much going to need to wear a mask anytime you're doing anything in the town. Another big thing that you're going to have to worry about this year because the restrictions are still in place. I know that New York just announced a couple of different things, but a lot of the restrictions are still there, it sounds like, which means you might need to schedule a place where you can cook your own food, cook it ahead of time, because the restaurants are going to be super slammed, especially if there's less of them. Typically, the wait times are pretty astronomical up there, so if you don't plan ahead, you're going to be waiting a long, long time, and that could be another stressor and just something that's easily avoidable if you plan ahead. So if you can cook at your place, that would be even better. I know it's not the best thing, but if you have a little support crew, have them cook you up a dinner while you're doing something like splashing around to the lake or just doing a check-in at the Ironman Expo, something like that, and then you can come back, just eat, put your feet up for the rest of the night. It takes a load of stress off. Aid stations over there, something a little bit more important. They just announced that athletes will be able to receive their personal needs bags from volunteers directly. That means they will be able to hand them to you if there are enough of them and you are got lucky and they got your bag. If not, you're going to be doing it yourself, so keep that in mind. Here we go. Athlete check-in this year. So again, athlete check-in is going to be at the race show grounds, the horse show grounds, right over here. Typically that is reserved for the Olympic area. Not anymore. If you need the address, it is right here, page 9 on the athlete guide. You can typically just type in the horse show grounds in Lake Placid. It'll bring you right to it. Bring your photo ID, your passport. It's going to be a little different this year. They're going to take your temperature. They're going to ask you a questionnaire. I believe, last I heard, you're going to have to show your vaccine card or proof of a negative test. So if you don't have either of those, you need to get on it now to make sure you have a test or a vaccine card. Athlete check-in, athletes only. Can't bring your friends or family there. They have to wait outside. Athlete check-in steps, pretty similar to in years past. Wristband this year looks like it's going to be orange instead of blue. Your packet's going to include your bib, your helmet, swim cap, bike check-in and check-out tickets, which you will be able to give to someone else to pick up this year. That is still remaining, to the best of my knowledge. Bike stickers, make sure you put it on your frame, your helmet, your bike stem, so they can just easily access it. 5 gear bed stickers to place on the bags themselves that you're going to be in charge of. If you don't place those stickers on the bags, you will lose those very easily. Before we talk about specific stuff in the transition, something that is not really highlighted in this athlete guide are the bike and run bags. There's a couple of conflicting accounts of information. First of all, the race director gave a webinar about a week and a half ago saying that the bags are going to be underneath your bike at a typical 70.3. But in this guide, it says you will rack your bags. So something that you need to ask again during athlete check-in is, what is going on with the bike and run bags? Are we racking them? Are we putting them under our bikes? And by then they'll be able to answer those questions at the athlete check-in for sure. New in 20 to 21, you have a reserve, or they should have emailed you already if you are on the team. If not, you should be getting that in the next day or so about reserving your time for the athlete check-in. I would highly, highly encourage you to do this on Saturday right around 11, 12-ish, just because that will allow you enough time to wake up, get your pre-race workout in, go back home, get yourself a nice little breakfast, big breakfast, and get everything ready to go, and put your stuff into the transition area, and then you will avoid a lot of the clutter. You'll also be able to eat lunch right away, which is super important on the day before race day. It just takes a lot of stress out of it. So if you have an athlete check-in 2 or 3 in the afternoon, it makes for a longer day. It doesn't allow you to stay off your feet a little bit more. I would get it done right around noon and then go for lunch. That was always my best plan. That was always what helps me and a lot of other athletes the best. These are a breakdown of the bike and run gear bags. White is your morning clothes, blue is bike, orange is bike personal needs, red is the run, black is your personal needs on the run. It will also say on the bags, so you don't have to stress about that. Physical addresses to a couple of things. Make sure you take note of this, page 13 on there. Mandatory athlete briefing. They say it's going to be during the athlete village hours. They don't say whether it's going to be exclusively online or in person. They just talk about in person, but I assume there will be an online option. So another thing to ask when you get checked in. Morning clothes bag, you'll be able to drop that off, so don't worry, that will still exist on race morning. Excuse me. All right. So with that, there is a new swim course this year. The swim course is open to the general public before the race, but just note that there is no lifeguard on duty. Here is a breakdown of all of the things. The bags drop off for morning clothes bag. Here we go. At the swim start. So you're going to drop that off at the swim start. But again, if you're worried about it and you don't know what's really going to happen, you can always ask a volunteer in the transition area on race morning, and they'll be able to tell you if you need to drop off your race morning bag in the Northwood School transition area or if you need to do it at the swim start. Here we go. So, body marking. There will be no body marking at the Ironman Lake Placid this year. You must wear a self-identified marked swim cap on the swim. You have to wear a stickered bike helmet, and the race bib is going to serve as all of your things. So if you lose those, you're probably going to be in a little bit more trouble than usual this year. I've also heard at other races, athletes are body marking themselves, which Ironman doesn't mind at all. But yeah, their volunteers will not be doing that. With the recent restrictions that have been lifted in the state of New York, this might be changing, but I would assume that there's no body marking unless they tell you otherwise. And if you want to worry about it, you can always ask at the check-in, or you can check at the athlete briefings. They'll probably send you a couple emails. They'll probably send you reminders. Chances are you will know about it on race day. You'll be unable to avoid it pretty much. Aid stations on the bike every 15 miles, and on the run every mile. Bike, they're going to be serving water, Gatorade Orange, Red Bull, Morton gels, caffeinated gels of Morton, Quantum Energy squares, and Fig bars. So the Morton gels, recent articles have come out that a lot of the riders on the Tour de France are using these products because they help settle the stomach and they allow you to ingest more calories without exhibiting any stomach issues. I would, if you want to try it, you can. I would be cautious of pumping in twice as much as they claim that you can do, though. You never know how you're going to react to the new stuff. So just keep that in mind. On the run, they're going to be offering water, Gatorade Lemon Lime, Red Bull Cola, gels, caffeinated gels again, energy squares, fig bars, chips, pretzels, bananas, fruit, and ice. That is only available at one aid station. So they don't know, or they don't list which one it is. I would assume it's an area that's easily to travel in and out of, that there's an escape road. So we're just going to have to play that by ear, and that will be a thing that will come up during the athlete check-in. They just haven't announced it yet. On the run course, it's going to be a grab and go. If you want cooler items, make sure you grab cups that are further away from the race course. That is because that is closer to the cups that they have just opened up and poured, if they allow it. If not, just grab the ones that are closest to the road. That is typical protocol. Also, you might have to slow down a little bit more at the run transition areas than normal because those cups are just filled up to the volunteers' liking. So if you need a whole cup, you might have to grab 2, 3, and we've had reports of up to 5 cups needed to be grabbed because they are trying to limit the amount in each one. So don't just assume one cup has enough for you. You're going to have to be smart about it. You're going to have to think through transition this year, and you're going to have to actively respond to differences than what are normally on the race course. All right, so bike cutoff, run cutoff, swim cutoff, that's all on page 18. Timing chip must be worn on the left ankle at all time. Ironman tracker for your spectators. Make sure they download the app. This is the race shuttle. Right. Masks are mandatory to ride on the shuttle, so you will still need a mask on race morning. So this is the oval right in here, right? The pickup location, the first bus is going to be at 4:15 a.m. and the last bus is going to be at 6 a.m. Before we talk about any specifics here, if you've ever been on an Ironman shuttle or a marathon shuttle before, there's going to be a lot of nervous energy pretty much throughout the entire ride, and that can really ruin your psyche for the next couple of minutes after you get off. Don't let it eat at you. You know, people are going to be really high stressed in there. I would kind of stick to yourself in there, or find someone that's in good spirits and a good mood and just kind of happy to be there, you know. I would assume that there's only athletes on the shuttle. Parking areas include the U.S. Training Center, the elementary school on Military Road, Lake Placid Firehouse, and the Adirondack Health parking lots. Those kind of typically, those are off map, most of them over here. and you'll have to walk over to the pickup location over here, which is just adjacent to the oval over there, right on the bike course. This will take you through the back end, so you'll be able to see one of the turnarounds on the bike course, and you'll be able to see the last, the Papa Bear right there, and you'll take a left turn away from that, and it'll take you up to the Northwood School over there. Transition, the last bus that will take you to the swim start will leave at 6:25. So if you have some throwaway sandals or anything like that, I would advise wearing those, just because you'll be going on some transportation. You're going to be doing a lot more things than you normally do from transition area this year. It's just creating a little bit more. Drop off is going to be right over here. So right next to that swim start, you can see the beach right there. So you'll have a very short walk over there, which will actually help a little bit. Typically, these Don Johns, Porta Johns are crowded on race morning at the swim start. They are, I feel like every year they do less and less of them in there. So if you are able to use the bathroom in the Northwood School over there, or the area over there, I would highly advise for you to do that instead, especially if you're coming on a later transport bus. And that is pretty much it for the transition, or the buses. There's also going to be buses that are running 4:30 to 12 Monday after the race. So you'll be able to go back and forth. I don't know. Typically what they do is they load up the bikes in the back of the bus, and then they bus it back over here, and then they drop you off. So those buses might be a little bit slower to go back and forth, but there are buses out there that will transport you a little bit more. And you just have to figure out what you do after you get dropped off here. So those are the transportation buses. Also, there was talk of the buses running. There was talk of the buses running from a little bit earlier to the race, but I don't know if that is still the case. Again, I would expect it to only happen on race morning, and if it happens more, then that would be great. But another thing to ask during the athlete check-in process. Post-race info, and then we'll get into the race. Sunday, 6 p.m. to midnight is when the bike checkout is happening. Monday, 8 to 10 again. Bike checkout ticket. You can have a family member check out your stuff. Post-race tent opens at 3. Lost and found finisher certificate you can find over there. If you want to volunteer, make sure you volunteer. They're really short on them this year. How to order your photos, finisherpics.com. Don't worry, they'll email you about 1,000 times, so you won't be able to miss that. Qualifying, slot allocation, roll down process. You can click here for more information on it. Pretty much you're going to have to go 1 or 2 in your age group to get there. And before I go away really fast, I believe just want to make sure I don't get it or don't miss it. All right, so Ironman World Championship slot allocation will be conducted virtually. They've said that in every race this year, but most of them have done the slot allocation in person. And the virtual part happens if you do not claim it there, right? So if you don't claim your slot on that day, what's going to happen, and if say you're the second person and they get to you and you're not there, what will happen is they will email you, and you will have 48 hours to respond to that email on if you accept or decline that invitation. If you don't respond to them, they will just move on. They will not wait for you. It is a pretty quick process. I would try to be there in person. I would do anything possible to get there in person when they do the roll down, because sometimes they stick to the virtual concept, other times they don't, and they just roll past you. So you don't want to miss your shot if you are up there. So make sure you attend the roll down ceremony if you are close. Okay, so now let's get into the nitty-gritty over here. One of the favorites about Lake Placid is the swim course. Let me zoom out for you a little bit more. So this is the Northwood School right up in here. You're going to have a long transition up there, but we'll get to that in a second. You are starting at the beach in Lake Placid. You're going to be starting right here. All right, there's going to be chutes all over the place. There's going to be lots of breakdowns for like the under 45, the 50, the hour 10, 20, and then as the chutes go in, that will disappear and everyone will slowly move forward. It is a time trial start this year, so you have to self-seed yourself. Typically a double rectangle and hop out. This year it is not so much. It is still a 2-loop course. You're going to start it on the swim over here, and you're going to go in a clockwise fashion around the mandatory turn red buoy over here, and then you're going to head over here, mandatory turn buoy, where you're going to return all the way back to the beach. Mandatory red turn buoy, that is going to be located right here at the end of the dock, and you're going to have to come around this way. And then you're going to go out and repeat the same process, but this time when you get to this second turn buoy, you are simply going to go up around this last one and then exit over here. You're not going to really be able to see the exit area in the days leading up to the race. You can swim up to it, but you can't walk on it, you can't hang out on it. That is Northwood School property. There have been claims that they will prosecute if they see you trespassing on their property before race day, so don't do that. Okay, so now to the question everybody is asking. The line will still be in there. They have moved the line for the race this year, so you will still have the line that carries all the way around the swim course that is about 5.5 feet under the water. A lot of athletes use this line as a crutch. I highly, highly advise you to not do that. There have been races where you can't even see the line. There have been races where you can see the line 20, 30 feet on either side of it. So I just put that out there because a lot of people will be looking for this line. They'll be fighting for this line like their life depends on it. And I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't be married to the line at all. A lot of times if you simply go out to the outside about 5 to 6 feet, you have a lot cleaner water, a lot less people, and it's just, for a lot of reasons, it's a lot more comfortable. You can go on either side of the line. The mandatory turn buoys are the red ones. So if you cut this buoy on the inside, you will be pulled. You will be asked to go back around. If you fail to do so, then you will be disqualified before the bike even starts, which is not a fun experience. So once you get in here, this is going to be a lot tighter than usual. There's going to be it's going to be really shallow over here. So as you can see, it's a lot shallower over here, and they're pumping you right over there to this area right over here. So with that, it's going to be a lot shallower than usual. There's going to be a lot of people fighting for the line, and you're just going to have to deal with it for a little bit before you can kind of get beyond this area right over here. And after you get past this little inlet, you'll be able to have a lot cleaner water before you snake out over there to the turnaround over here. The sun is going to be rising in this area over here, so if you breathe to the right on the way out, you might not be affected as much, but on this stretch, you will be more affected. If you breathe to the right, you'll be staring right into the sun whenever you breathe. So if you have the line here and the capability to breathe to the left, this would be a place to do it, and poking your head out every once in a while to make sure you're traveling in the right spot if you're not using that line over there. Super common for swimmers to get a little disoriented in here if you're not exclusively using the line, but just treat it like a regular open water swim. And what I mean by that is during this stretch, you're going to be sighting probably less frequently because there's going to be more people around you that you're just going to be in more of a battle. But once you get past this area over here, you don't want to sight every 2 strokes. You want to sight, like breathe to the right, breathe to the left, then sight. If you can snake it up to 14, 15 strokes without sighting, that is awesome. That's great. If you have clean water on the line, and you don't really need to sight, right? This line will carry past this little turn over here, so if you fail to sight at all, you will just end up swimming beyond the swim course. So you need to sight every once in a while, even if you're swimming on the line. If you're swimming off the line, you can avoid a lot of those sighting patterns if you can see the line over there and you're just swimming parallel to it, because of the reasons we just explained. I mean, you're following the swim course. You're like essentially cheating on the swim legally. But if you sight really, really frequently, then that is going to be a big, big place for you to slow down wherever you are. These buoys will all have numbers on them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, what is it? 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. Typically what they do is they have about 10 buoys or so. So the numbers over there, if you follow them before the race, you'll be able to see, because they'll all have numbers on them. You'll be able to see when those end. So if you breathe to the right one time and you see, okay, this is number 3, you'll know how far you are in your head without having to even sight. So that's just another easy thing to accomplish on the swim with very little effort. You just go and watch the buoys on in the lake while you're doing your practice loops before the race, and it'll be a lot easier to know where you're at. So if you sight here, or if you take a breath to the right here, and you see this is the 5th buoy, in your head you should know, okay, I only have one more, and then the turn's coming up, so you could probably sight soon, just to double check you're heading in the right direction. But avoid sighting every second stroke. It's a great way to ruin your swim. This area over here, especially on the first loop, you're going to have a lot more cleaner water no matter where you are. The masses are going to be in front or behind you, depending on what has happened in this stretch over here. And this stretch of highway right here is going to really open up for you. People are really going to turn on the jets here no matter what group you're in. And I would advise you to not do that, actually. Jumping out fast, maintain, and maintain coming back in. We'll talk about this in a second. This area is going to be very tempting for a lot of athletes to really crush. First reason is because they were actually able to see this other turn buoy right over here. In years past, we had 3, 4 turn buoys, and it was really hard to see them way out there. But now you're really close, so you'll be able to see that. You have just conquered this longer stretch of triangle right in there. So seeing this buoy being actually closer than this one, right, you're going to want to go. You want to go fast just naturally. And you're going to have to swim at your own pace, swim in your own pattern. And I would actually let someone pass you if they're really fighting on your heels, they're really nipping at you. I would just let them pass, because they're going to blast this section no matter what. And that blast is going to carry into this second or third buoy over here. But for you should be maintaining your pace or riding the wave of someone else. And if that wave is too aggressive to follow, let them go. Swimming your pace over here, you're going to maintain it. You're actually going to, in a perfect world, increase your pace slightly for this last big straightaway. This is going to be where you're going to be able to gain a lot of time on people, because just as we talked about over here, typically when people get closer and closer, they sight more and more and more, and that is what you should not do. When you return back past this last buoy over here, you're going to be around this area over here, right? So you can see that there's a gap in between these areas where the line is gone. There's no line. They might change that this year. Jumping ahead. They might change that this year. But there's not going to be a line over here, and you're going to be aiming for this little dock, this red buoy over here, okay? Very, very common for athletes to go wide over here and then cut in at the last second. I wouldn't do that. I would actually go just 5 or 6 feet to the left of that buoy and then cut in over here. There's going to be people everywhere over here. It's kind of like a war zone when you return back over there. This whole section of water right here really opens up, and then because of the issues of people slowing down a lot, this last section really clumps up. And that's going to create a couple of issues for you right in here. Again, just because you are 30 feet from the exit, right? You don't need to sight every other stroke. You can just maintain that. And even if you veer off a little bit, you're right there. You're done. Okay, you just hop out, come back in. And because this is a 2-loop course, once you get to this last orange buoy over here, that's when you need to start kicking your feet, treating it like the end of the actual swim. Because this is I'm going to call it a shallow exit, right? You go from deep water to shallow really, really fast. It's a steeper exit. And once you get to the beach, it's really easy to touch the sand, stand right up. And if you are not ready for that with your legs, with the blood flowing back in there, you're going to suffer. I guarantee it. You're going to cramp up. Your legs are not going to feel good. Your body's not going to be happy with you. So kick your feet, increase the tempo, increase the speed over here. I'm not talking sprint, but think like tempo on the bike. That's where you need to be, okay? Your arms should be maintaining the same speed you did this whole time. Just be a steady rise in pace, steady getting faster. And maintain that arm speed all the way in. Once you get around this buoy, you know where you are. And you can actually, when you are swimming in here, typically a good little secret to do is just you can do some self-sighting, just breathing to the right here. If you see that you're getting further away, you know that you're veering off over here, and you can just easily correct that. That's an easy correction. And so this swim is all about being smart with little tricks like that. So sight off of this dock when you are approaching the finish. Make sure you have your kick going, kicking the whole time over here. And last major tip for you is avoid the sudden stand. So you can do just a slow stand if you want to gingerly exit in the swim. You can definitely do that. This is not a place where you need to do like a little burpee push-up in the water at all. Then onto the second loop, you're going to have more of the same. Since we had a big clump up over here, this next big section over here, same as the first loop, it's going to clump up, but this time it's going to be around people who are actually your pace. So what I used to always do here is let 2 or 3 people go in front of me. Not if they were slower, but if they were around the same pace, I would let them do it, because a lot of times people really want to attack that second loop right out of the gate. And if that is the case, you can really ride the waves really easily off of these people over here. And then similar to what we did around this turn on the first loop, you're just going to fall into their rhythm and then slowly get back into your rhythm, especially around this second buoy over here. And what that's going to do is you're going to go around these guys, girls, whoever, and they're going to get mad. And so they're going to stick on you, and then it's going to be really easy to bait them into going a little faster. So if you can put in a little acceleration around here, if you are with people, that will really get those other people interested and drive around you, and they'll be able to drive the pace on this course. Depends. Some people will carry it for you all the way to this turn over here. If you do this little acceleration and they don't come with you, then you're just carrying your speed. You're going to return back to normal swimming and just carry this pretty much all the way back in. If you come on the second loop and you are in a little hole of people, there's just no one around you, immediately just jump back into your pace over here. And again, follow that line, follow the buoys. You're sighting less frequently than on a normal swim course because you have the line. You can swim off of the line if there's other people. Yeah, major difference this year than last year is actually exit on this side. So once you get past this turn over here on your second loop, that's when you need to start thinking about the transition area, what you're going to do, how you're going to approach it, what's going to go on. And when you need to start your kick is probably this turn buoy right over here, maybe even a little before if you're a little bit faster of a swimmer. You have to go on the left side of this buoy, so if you cut the corner and really cut it tight in there, you're going to get dinged, and chances are they'll let you finish, but then they'll ask you to swim all the way back out and go back in, because Ironman's nice like that. So make sure you do not cut that on the right side, swim around it, thinking about transition, and same things that we talked about for the exit over on this side, we're going to talk about on this side over here. So this is going to be the exit over here. So I want to double check. Yeah. Okay. So this is going to be the exit over here. You're going to exit and then you're going to come back out over here. There's not a lot of good things to sight over here. They will have banners. They'll have all kinds of stuff that you can't miss. So you might have to sight a little more frequently. I don't know how much the line is going to extend to over here. So that could be something that you play around with depending on how fast you are in the days leading up to the race, or if you're staying at like the Mirror Lake Inn, for example, you can just hop in theirs. If you don't stay there, they will actually ticket you and take your stuff and keep it until you pay your ticket. A little pro tip for you. So yeah, if you're a faster swimmer, you can explore this. If not, it's probably going to be all new on race day, but it's going to be the same thing as the other ones. So you're going to exit, you're going to snake over here, and you're going to jump up to the transition area, which is over here. Now, let me see if I can find my tab. This is a picture of the transition area. You can see the blue lines coming up over here. You will have a very, very long swim to bike transition. That is definitely going to be new this year. Also new, instead of a downhill switch, it's going to be an uphill switch. So this whole area, I believe it's 1,400 yards that you'll be required to schlep after your swim. So the transition times that we're going to see this year are going to be astronomical compared to the years in past. These are the wetsuit rules. Make sure you read those. They'll be able to take you through the whole thing. Here's Jens talking about Ruvi. Okay, so that's the transition area over there. Right here. This is available also on the Lake Placid Facebook group. Easy to join. Just got a request. They'll accept you. It changes every year. A lot of good info on here. Just ignore all the other crap out there. So you'll be running up here. Change tents. Last I heard, there are no change tents this year. So you're going to be having to put on whatever you have in your transition rack. Wrap a towel around you and go. For ladies, I would highly advise the undress, as it allows you to do things a lot easier and more comfortable without a towel. I have seen guys use it too. Essentially, it's a dress that you can just take your stuff off underneath and you can just go. If not, you're going to do the old school towel wrap around you and change that way. There will be a couple places to change, but it's not going to be like in years past. It's going to be single occupancy. Probably it's going to be an open top tent. So I would plan on wearing in your wetsuit what you plan to bike in. If you are going to go in a bike jersey, please do not swim in that at all. And that's going to be something you're just going to easily change into over there. Do not go in your wetsuit naked. Do not do that. I would wear your bike shorts or something that you're going to bike in underneath. Or you can change in the open over here with a towel. There will not be wetsuit strippers this year coming out of there, so that means what I would actually do is take the extra time, since it's going to be a long transition anyways. I might just take the bottoms off completely and just carry my wetsuit up this long thing. And because it's really long, 1,400 yards, that's a long way to go with your wetsuit bottoms on and changing over there. If you are interested in saving the seconds, yep, you're going to do it there. You're also going to get hotter if you wear that over there. So if it's a cooler day, sure, wear it. Just know that you're going to wear that wetsuit out a little bit more because you're running and not swimming in it, creating a little bit more friction in there. If it's a hotter day or planning to be a hotter day, I would actually take it off down there so you can cool off a little bit. You're carrying your wetsuit, but so what? Who cares? And that is, if I can find it here, that is the picture of transition. So you're going to come in here, right? And you're going to snake through here, and then you're going to grab your stuff, change, whatever. You're going to snake back out over here. And you're going to get right over here on the mounting line, and then boom, this is a downhill over here. So you won't have to worry too much about a really, really heavy gear. I would put you somewhere in the middle just to allow you to get your legs back. And that is pretty much the transition area in a nutshell from the swim to bike. Again, biggest highlight this year is it's a mega distance from the swim to the bike. Take your time, don't rush. It's going to be going uphill for the most part, pretty much the whole time, and you will not be able to access this before the race. Best place you're going to be able to do that is the day before when you have your bike check-in. That'd be a great little spot for you to just explore a little bit, maybe pop over and just look down, or if they don't allow you to go through these roads over here, you can just peer through and you can see what you're going to be doing on the top. And then if you go on the top right here, you'll be able to see what the road generally looks like, and then you can always just go over here and look through that way. But this is private property, so I don't know how open that's going to be on race day. Now the bike. A couple of big changes this year. There is a out and back loop, which they've done in years past. There is no out and back up the mountain, up the hotel route over here. Instead, what they've done is they put this out and back over on bobsled run lane. Now, there's a little bit confusion on what's going to happen. Turn left into the stadium and loop around and go back out. You're going to travel to the end, go in the stadium. So, in my eyes, what that means is, and this is what the race director was talking about, they're going to go and put you on the service road, The plans that we have up there right now only can loop this road right here. Again, it's a lot of elevation gain over here. I posted the bike course probably a week ago now, the new one with the new elevation over 8,000 feet now. But this service road is going to be tricky. So what I'm envisioning is you go up through this area over here, and then you loop back around, and then go back down. If that's not the case, good for you, because that's a lot of elevation that's coming through right in here. And we can zoom in on it here. Clear selection. Here we go. That's better. So, looping into the park, taking that left turn, looping into the park, we're at about, let's call it 8.77. We're at 2050. 8.77 all the way up to the top here. That's technically not what you'll be doing. 9.2, 22.15. So there's going to be some steep gradients in here. You can see I'm hovering at 8%, but that doesn't mean it's the highest. 9, 10%. It's going to be like virtual Zwift, but only in real life in a couple of different places back in here. So this is where you're going to need some of your really, really easy gears back in here. But let's back up a little bit because we're jumping ahead of ourselves. Those are the biggest changes out on the Ironman race course this year. You will start out at the Northwood School. You'll loop back around over there. Just want to get this really big for you guys. So typically what happened in years past is you went down the oval, and then there was a little chute out here, and then it shot you back down over here. So this year, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be going down this hill over here, a little downhill section, and let's just zoom in so we can see. So you have a little downhill to start. This is really, really easy riding throughout here. And as we get out of the town, I'll talk about more things generally. But in town, typically the most dangerous part of the route, this year is going to be no different. Probably a little more dangerous in town, I would argue. And then you're going to actually take a left-hand turn right at the oval. And then you're going to take a quick right. There's going to be 3 turns that come really fast over there. And the speed's going to come really, really easy. So this turn probably is now one of the more dangerous turns out on course over here. You're going to have people that are really flying through here. They're going to cut this turn tight, and they're going to blow this turn. I guarantee you're going to see some people going into the bar over there. Guaranteed. So I would take this actually a little bit gingerly, this turn as well, and this is all downhill, 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 downhill. So super, super dangerous part of the course. Typically, another area that you hate to see is right through here. Let's see if we can find it. Right through here, there is a little dip, major dip in the road over there. I think it comes right in between here or on one of these other ones. I can't remember exactly. But it's just like riding in California. You'll be going really fast, and then it dips down really, really aggressively. So you have seen people lose control over there. And then at the bottom over here, typically this is where you used to see a lot of crashes. It is a left-hand bend, so if you do go down, chances are you're going to go on the non-drive side, which is beneficial for you, but you never love to crash in the first mile of an Ironman. So again, you really want to be taking it a little easier than you want to be right here. It's really fun, and you can really crush this area, but I wouldn't on either lap, just because there's a lot of commotion going on. Then once you make this left-hand turn, you have another right-hand turn. And again, you're still going downhill until you pass the water, and then you'll be going uphill. And the ride really starts after this little uphill dig for sure. Again, last thing I'll talk about super quickly, and then we'll get into more general broadness of the bike course. This area right here, do not stand up and attack it like you see the Tour de France riders do. Do not do that, because that's a great way to blow your legs a little bit before you really even start the ride. So now, if you see this course, it's a tale of 2 big hills essentially. So starting at mile, 27, 28, right in there. You can see my cursors right in here in the town of Jay. Once you start there, the fun really begins, and it becomes a really long loop. And if you follow this orange dot that's going around, I'll go a little slower for you. You just don't stop climbing. You don't stop climbing until you hit the major downhill at Keene, to dump you into Keene. And a lot of people forget that for these first 15, 10, 15 miles, they really, really forget that. Yeah, you have your fun at the beginning of the ride. You know, it's great. It's all downhill, but pretty much after that, it's go time. It is go time. And the hills come fast. The hills come heavy. Starting off with the one right after you pass the run course. This is a 6%-ish. That is typically what you're going to find on this. It starts off a little more aggressive, and you see a lot of people really, really crushing this hill. Do not do that. Please do not do that. Okay, this is the hill that we were talking about right in here. It lasts for a little bit longer than you want it to. So what I would do is I would actually treat this as a warm-up hill. I wouldn't go out of the gates flying. I would treat this as a warm-up, a way to get your legs going back underneath you. Okay, if you crush this hill, you're going to be in big trouble for the rest of this route. You can see that the hills, I mean, we're talking 4%ers all throughout. And this is probably one of the harder sections out on course. And then we have the bobsled hill, which is going to be question mark. I'm sure they'll be able to answer questions about that at the athlete check-in, the race briefings, all of that stuff. But the thing that's going to make this a little harder than normal is once you go down and you go back out to the main road over here, you've always had to climb, but this time, I mean, you have this added monster in here if they do dump you up there. So you're going to have a quick chance to recover. Do not fly through this area. Do not fly through this area. I can't say it much. I can't say it too much. This is a nice little downhill that they will dump you through, right? And this turn comes at the bottom of a downhill. And it'll be flatter, right? It'll be a nice break. It'll feel good. Like, again, we're talking, 2% in here. Like, it feels great. You know, it's awesome. It feels great. And then, if you really motor through this, because, again, it's easy to do here. That it suckers you into going fast. Do not get sucked in to really putting the hammer down. There'll be plenty of places to do that. This is a stupid area to do that. Just ride your pace through here. Let other crazies go past you, fly by you, blow up their legs, and just let it happen. You got to really be patient on this course. This is a patient course. This is not a rewarding course. You know, we'll only give it to you if you treat it with respect, and then it will reward you with a good time after that, and reward you with better run legs. But don't really hammer this section out or back because once you escape, you'll have to actively go up another hill. And you can see we're talking more 4%, just extended hills. You know, we are really, really working to get up there, and 5%. And what makes this section, the first, let's call it 14 miles, what makes this section really difficult is you can get up most of these hills in the big ring. You can do it, but it's a matter of can and should, right? I mean, if you're looking down, you're mid-cassette in that big ring up front, you're not having any problems and it's happy days, go for it, right? Just make sure you double check with your power, double check with things, and don't overdo it in these first couple of miles. Super, super common, right? Because you'll crush these hills and you'll fly down this mountain, right? All the way down to Keene, up over to Jay, right? And the first 27, 30 miles, you can have a really good average pace, right? Because you climb for 10 miles, and then you also went downhill for 10 miles, right? So if you look at your average pace at this point in the race, you're going to have a false sense of security. You're going to think it's really easy, and in reality, you got about 40 miles of climbing after that. So do not come out super hot. Downhill of Keene, let's zoom in here. One of the most dangerous parts on course over here, typically an area where you will experience some sort of speed wobble is right through up here if you have an older bike. So be prepared over here. Do not fly through this area with only one hand on your bike because this is where the speed wobbles will occur, and unfortunately you will be going really fast here. You'll fall down over here through these little Cascade Falls things over here. And that's because you have a nice little downhill over here. Again, you actually have a slight uphill over here, and you can see, let me see if I can find it again. You have about 3.5% of gradient right over here in order to get to the main downhill after that. So if you really drive the pace on that downhill, and again, if you're mid-cassette, you're cruising with the power, cruising with the speed, great, stay there, right? But do not force this area. This is another sucker area, and people don't realize it. Another easy place where the bike course just zaps you. It's super common for people to be in this super heavy gear. They get really jacked up to go down this hill super fast. And if you do that, you're going to run the risk of exploding your legs in these first 15 miles, which is, again, not bright. It is not bright. So just treat this with a little respect over here, and once you get up it, then you can slowly start to get into things. But again, you're going to experience those speed wobbles if you aren't smart right in this area. So if it's a really bad crosswind day or a headwind day, be careful about when you drop to one hand to refuel in this area over here. Now, probably the biggest concern that's on everyone's mind is this obvious big downhill for sure. More comfortable riders will be able to go down most of it in the arrow position if you've done it a couple of times. If not, you're going to be up on these bullhorns or whatever other bars that you have. And that is okay. A thing that you need to really think about here is the middle section of this ride. The middle section of this ride actually flattens out a bit, and you're going to have to pedal more than you think you should, and don't let that eat at you. A lot of times it gets in a lot of riders' heads, right at the hiking center in there. It really eats at a lot of people because they think they should be going 30 miles an hour, and they look down, they're only going 15, But it's okay. You just have to accept it because there is another massive downhill again. I mean, look, 7%, 8% in there. But you do slow down. I mean, we're talking 1.5% gradient for a little bit. So you will be going downhill. You won't be going 30, 35 miles down there. But you will be able to if you really push the power, and that's not what you're supposed to do. You're just supposed to maintain that effort level right there. Just maintain that effort level because it will dump you down. And once you start to get into this really twisty, turny area, the road kind of comes together a little bit. You have 2 lanes, and that goes to 1 lane right around here. Okay. When you are going down this area of road right in here, it is, of course, a right-hand turn. So if there's no one behind you, and yes, you do need to be checking if you can. If not, just stay on the right-hand side and just accept the speed. Don't worry about it, and just kind of milk the brakes a little bit if you're really, really nervous about things. If not, and you have a clear route, you want to be on the left hand closer to the center line so you can really drive the pace a little bit on this left-hand dig. This super common areas to crash are coming up right in here, this right-hand bend right in here, and also this left-hand bend right in here. The left-hand bend is more common of an athlete to slide out on. This left-hand turn right here, you can get through it pretty easily, believe it or not, if you kind of just drive the bike a little bit. But this right-hand turn is going to be a place where you are, I mean, if you're looking at the gradient down below and up top, I mean, you can see that is negative 9% right there. So you're going to be going at a pretty good clip in here. But also because it's negative 8, negative 9%, look, halfway through this turn, if you just come off the brakes, or if you're more comfortable enough to come off the brakes, or you're at a point that you can come off the brakes, you're going to get back up to speed relatively fast. So that's what a lot of athletes fail to realize. And also, is it really worth totally bombing this hill? I mean, that's a question you're going to have to ask for yourself. I was always on the side of being a little more cautious. A lot more athletes have more success if they're more cautious on this course because they're not fighting the nerves. The heart rate can come down a little bit more. Sure, you're going fast, but you shouldn't be pushing the descents like a professional rider if you're not. Right. Then when you get back into the town of Keene, it is a very sharp left-hand turn right there. And something that a lot of athletes fail to do is getting into an easier gear because you're going to go from like -3, -5, and then boom, you're right back up to 2%. There's a little dip in there, but then you're going to be going right to work again after that. So you want to be in your mid-range gears after that because the next section is from Keene. And I'll keep the first hill after J. This blue section over here. Well, first we could actually talk about the... So this is the hill, and you can see places where your power is actually going to be higher than what you typically do, right? So ignore these numbers, but just see that it's going up even in the middle over there, and that's that visitor center that we talked about over there. And again, up a little hill over there, chances are you won't even have to jump up that hill over there, right? Your speed will probably carry you over that hill over there. So, all right, now zooming back out to Keene to Jay, a super fun area of road, right? Let's just move these tabs closer together for us. And you can see why. I mean, on this course, it's one of the flattest sections on the race course. So, this area on the athlete guide, right? But what you should see, and the reason I came back over here, is because I want you to look at all of this. This is one loop of the course, right? This is one loop. So this flat section of area is probably the only time you can A, recover if you've overdone it, and B, a great spot for you to establish your legs, right? Even if you struggled in those first 20 miles, now's going to be a time where you can kind of start to set the tone a little bit for you, not for other people, but for you. You can start to get back to those power numbers, get back to those heart rate numbers. And if your heart rate is still high, this is going to be a spot where you must calm it down and you must bring it back, because the next sections are deadly if you don't. This is a super speed trap for everyone. You can go fast here. You can go 20 plus miles an hour with relative ease in most places, especially this section right over here after you get past the bridge a little bit, but then it starts to sneak up a little. But don't do that. Please, please, please don't do that unless you're watching your power, pace, heart rate numbers, and they're all reporting good, right? Avoid having 70 cadence in this area because you're going to have a lot of that lower cadence stuff later on. Instead, you want to just not spin out, but you want to kind of spin to win here and get your legs ready for the effort that they're about to have. Perfect opportunity to fuel in this area. Don't chase other people. There will be a rest stop right in here. I believe they've labeled this now. Yep, there will be a rest stop in here, and then right before you climb up to J, which is always super nice of them. That rest stop is probably right in this area, right before that little hill right there. So you will have the opportunity to go even slower after this rest stop, which is great. Typically, one of the most dangerous parts on this race course is this water stop right after Keene and also right after J. And yeah, they've changed that, so that's good. So these are two of the more dangerous parts. The reason is because everyone's still kind of clumped together. You can't really escape from that many people. The people who shot past you on the downhill are going to be here before you, and the people that are coming after you, hopefully the smarter people, are going to be able to handle those water stations a little bit better than most. So you have a kind of meeting of all the minds over there, and that creates a lot of issues. So make sure you know who's in front of you, who's behind you. I would actually drop your speed a little bit during these aid stations on purpose as a preemptive strike if you can see a couple other people there. A lot of times people will hide in the back of the transition line, or the water station line, and then when you approach, you won't be able to see them coming, but when you come up, they will pop out at the last second at this race course, and it is their fault, right? But it's not anyone's major fault. You should be keeping an eye on things. They should be keeping an eye on things. It just is what it is, and a lot of times because they're going slow up some of these uphill transition areas, they will wobble back and forth going halfway out into the road, and that's where bike crashes happen. So just be careful. All right, so now we're going to start the actual meat and potatoes of this ride, and I'm just going to highlight all the way back up to the downhill at Keene. So first we have the hill over at J right here. This is a notoriously difficult hill. It's not super difficult on paper, but it just lasts and lasts and lasts, ending at about mile 29.8, starting at 28.3. It seems like it lasts forever. You're going to have to get into gear, and you're going to have to go in your pace, okay? Typically, that's going to be mid to high cassette in the small ring for most people. If you have a little bit more in there, that you might be able to eke out the big ring in some of the areas on that hill for sure. But again, you have to check in with yourself and just see, is this smart? What's my power? What's my pace? What's my heart rate? How am I feeling? What's my cadence? You constantly have to start checking in with yourself, starting here again. And this is going to last pretty much for the rest of the race. You should start this right at the beginning of the bike, but if you haven't, now is a great time to start. Once you get to the top here, you're going to undulate a little bit, right? Again, this is another hill that's going to sting in here, and there's some more that's mixed in. And then you're going to go probably to one of the more difficult parts of the course again. So I would range the first 10, 15 miles in the most hardest on the race course, and then I would list the last from here, 32 to 56, I would list those as the mentally draining part of the course. Not physically, mentally. It can be physically if you let it. And the reason is because you're just going to have a lot of stuff hitting you, right? You're going to take this right-hand turn. You're going to go down to this out and back, which let's zoom in really fast here. A lot of people don't realize, right? But you're going to come in at this section. I can find it for you. Right there. Right? So you're going to be coming in here. You'll be able to take this right-hand turn a little quicker than you want to. And because of that, a lot of people tend to take this turn wide. And you have, since this is an out and back, you're probably going to have athletes coming back while you're doing this. Even if you're a super fast person leading the age group race, you're going to have professionals that are coming back already because they started before you and they're faster. So no matter who you are, you're going to have racers doing that. And a lot of times when they're coming back on this out and back through this section over here, right? When they're coming back, they're typically not paying attention through here. And you are turning right, not paying attention. So it's another excellent place to get in a crash if you're not paying attention. I've said that a bunch already, but it is what it is on this course. Then throughout this section over here, if we switch this to satellite, there's a couple of great areas for you to kind of check in with yourself. Now, the reason I'm zooming in over here is because these are like little rollers back through here. This is actually a really fun portion of the course, but again, you got to be watching yourself. You got to be checking in. This section right here, little known secret, right? They have a windsock over here usually where they can see the wind and all that. That's a great place for you to just look over and see what it's doing, right? Because a lot of times the wind will be different out here than it will be in the actual town. So make sure you are actively looking for that. And if you want to drive the course, you can double check that. I don't know if it will be up, but that has been a place where athletes have found a lot of success figuring out what the wind conditions are doing out on this back section of the course. During this whole out and back section, again, this will be a faster section over here for sure. Because you're going to have ups and downs. You really haven't seen a number that's higher than 3% over here. But what this is, let's clear this for us really fast. Just going to highlight the out and back. But what this is, right, is it's just lumpy terrain. It's really, really lumpy. And especially coming back, you can really get suckered in doing some of these hills really, really aggressively because you're going to be diving down here and then popping back up. Diving and popping the whole time. So avoid that and you will be A-okay. Again, watch your numbers and avoid these sudden major bursts over there. So now that we've done that big out and back, this is the section leading back into town, right? And an area that is often not talked about is this little hill right in here. This section right over here it's notoriously difficult, and a lot of people forget about it on purpose, especially this hill. You can see right here, 6, 7, there's probably an 8%er in there a little bit. And because you've just had a great time on this downhill section coming back from the turnaround, this uphill section, you're really going to want to fight it just instinctively. And you have to avoid that, unfortunately. Failure to ride the way you should right through here will make this last section very, very difficult. So keep the cadence up. And this is a hill that I don't often say, but you just have to eat it. You just have to eat this hill right here because this is a great place for you to get your legs back and not crush this hill. You'll be able to crush some of these other hills pretty easily if you have your legs. But this hill for sure, I would avoid it. I would just get through it if I'm honest with you. I would really do that. Let's zoom out of here because we're going to be talking about the back section after we talk about some of these aid stations in here. Water stop right through there is J. You climb up some of the hills, do the turnaround. You're going to have a water stop coming back, right? Again, right before the turn, so the speed will be a little bit higher through here on this one for sure. And you have to be smart. You gotta watch for things. You got to be careful. You got to be aware of other people. Next one isn't coming until you're at mile 45-ish on their guide. That'll put you right around this area over here. And you can see that it's just up, right? It's filled with a lot of these up and down, but the net uphill is going to be what gets you. Athletes that are successful here are going to be the ones that maintain the tension on the chain. They do not really crush after Wilmington, right? After you make this turn right through here, it's flatter. You're going to have a headwind. I can almost guarantee it, 99% sure you are going to have a headwind here. Only been a couple of races where you haven't. It's going to be a headwind or cross headwind, guaranteed. And you are really going to want to blow all of your power through this area over here, and you just can't. Again, it's unfortunate because it's a place where you can, and most places you should, if you were just riding the course, right? But after that, you're going to go to another really difficult hill, which is the bridge hill going over the creek. Once you go over this bridge hill, right, I mean, it's going to be a lot more challenging than you want it to be, but then you're going to be hit with a welcome downhill really fast. It won't even feel like a downhill. And then you're going to climb up again, right? And that's just going to last for a little while. Once you get past these ski areas, right through there, typically that is about mile 90 on the race course. And it's just not a fun place, if I'm being honest. You just got to put your head down. You just got to be smart with your power. I mean, some people, again, will be crushing this section because you can. You can absolutely crush this section, but it's a matter of could and should for sure. Then, once you get past over here, you're gonna climb out some of these. Like, it's a very, very beautiful area through over here. And it kind of takes your mind off it a little bit. Another area that is super, super fun. If you're not careful, right? You are going to spend this whole hill climbing up. And this is a big hill, Wilmington Notch Campground. Once you get past the campground, this is a hill and a half that you can get through on the big ring. You can do it, right? Could and should. Think about that. Could and should. Can I do it? Again, if you're mid-cassette and it's no problem, yeah, you can. But if you are pushing the top of that cassette in the big ring and you are struggling to keep the power and you're just pushing, you look down, you're 40 watts over your goal, your target, you need to get into that small ring right in here. Once you get past this gorge, it will be a downhill dump for a little bit, right? Zoom out. There we go. Right through here, right? It's going to dump you down a little bit. It's going to be fun, but then it's back to work again. And that's where the real fun starts on this course. And again, as you can see, if I zoom out here and I just kind of get a smaller section for you, it's just lumpy back in here, right? It's again and again and again. So if you attack something like this hill, right? Great, fine. You have another hill, and if you attack that one, and then that one, and then that one, and then that one, and then that one, and again back into town, right? It just becomes really, really tiring, right? So you have to ride this course in a respectful manner to the course. The 3 bears over here, first bear, 4%, 4.5-ish, maybe a couple 5ers. Baby bears in here, you'll be able to get over that no problem if you drive the downhill. You have a flat section and you'll be able to get up to speed, and you might have a little bit of trouble with the top, but not really. And then the The Papa Bear is the most challenging hill of the baby or the bears. I wouldn't actually be worried about the 3 bears, if I'm honest with you. I would actually just skip the nerves entirely, and just get up it. Just get up it. A really mentally draining portion of, before we skip that, you're going to have a lot of spectators on here. Typically, this is where a lot of them hang out, so that'll be fun, especially the first time through here. And then a really mentally draining spot is after you get past the 3 bears. There's a downhill section all the way to the stoplight in town. Here we go. So you're going to turn right around here or here. Typically, the turnaround is placed somewhere in there, right? And it's really great. You go flying down this downhill, turn around, and then right back up. And again, once you come back up this turnaround and then back up the hill, right? Once you come back up, again, it's a hill. Look, 2-3%. Yeah, you can get up that no problem in the big ring. But if you're looking at your heart rate, you're looking at your power, and it's out of control, you need to back off. You need to back off. Another, not secret, but another suspiciously hard area of the course that obviously a lot of riders forget about is once you make this left-hand turn after the Big Bear, you still have to climb all the way up to the Northwood School, pretty much, right? And this section of road can be very, very difficult, even before this last hill up to the transition area this year. And a lot of people get in a really bad habit of it turns into just grinding away, and then it turns into really crushing it, and then before you know it, your power is oftentimes 100 or 150 higher before you even get to this hill up to the transition area. So you just have to be careful. You're going to be running on a lot of adrenaline from the crowds, and you just kind of have to turn that noise off. Wave to your friends and your spectators, your supporters, but you just got to turn off the rest, and that's something really difficult to do. But you can't really just fall into the trap of the spectators out there. Otherwise, you're going to make this last section unnecessarily hard, and on a course like this, you can't afford that. Then once you get back into the transition area, we'll go back to the picture. You'll actually take a right-hand turn, so you will be going down a downhill over here. I would actually go into mid-cassette, easier gear for sure, because I believe you're going to have to go uphill after the special needs area, and this is not going to be a high-speed traveled area at all. Again, if you are using the personal needs, this is where you can grab it. This is where they will hand it off to you. If not, you're probably going to have to get off your bike, go in there, get it, and then come back out. So just keep that in mind. That is always, I would plan on that being plan A. And if the spectator gives it to you as plan B, that's even better. It's even better. Once you get past over here, you're going to get back on your bike, carry your momentum, whatever, take all your stuff out, throw the bag at the spectator, get over there. And this route over here is going to be uphill and then downhill again. The map of that area, if I can find my place here we go. The map of this area is pretty crowded over here, and this turn's going to be a little contested, a little tight. And this area isn't an actual roadway, paved thing. I would expect some flats to happen over here, especially the first couple of people that go through it. And then you're going to zigzag through over here on the downhill, and then you're going to do a tight left-hand turn. Just be careful with your speed over here, please, because that's going to be another area where you're going to have to worry about for sure on the bike. Second loop's going to be much of the same. Remember this area over here. Let's change this up to regular map for you. This area right here where you come down, it's going to be downhill, 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 downhill turn, or downhill turn over here. Let's see if we can do terrain for you. That's wildly unhelpful. Okay, so it's again, it's going to be super dangerous here, and the spectators are going to be out. People are going to be going all over the place. So this is not a place along Mirror Lake where you should be crushing. This is not a place at all. Save your effort for where you will need it out on race day. And again, you're going to ride the second loop pretty much the same as the first loop. The only difference is this first The only real difference are these first 10 miles again, right? You will be on the bike. You will have already done one lap. You won't have done a swim before. But again, I would use this hill as a warm-up hill just to get the legs back underneath you. And you won't even need the warm-up, right? So you might be able to go a little bit harder right here if you've treated the town area as a kind of recovery area with high speed rather than a high-speed area with a lot of effort. Big difference. If not, you're going to have to recover here. And then it's much of the same over here. The thing that I didn't talk about on the first loop, this bobsled area. The race director in the video that was posted a couple weeks ago speculated that it would be a no-pass zone. I don't know how they're going to enforce that if everyone's going to be going 4 miles an hour back there. But just be careful back there. If you do pass and you get caught, you probably will come up with a penalty. And because of this service road area, I would assume that if you get caught littering back here as well, it will also be an equal penalty for you during the race. So just keep that in mind on race day. Make sure you ask that or keep an ear out for that as well. And then the second time through is going to be much of the same. Again, once you pass this aid station back through here, it's going to be a little eerie. There's going to be more people back there than you were around. Again, it's going to be a place where people come together. Typically, if you've overcooked the first loop, you're going to know about it right there. And this section all the way up to Keene, or to Jay back in there, is going to be a lot harder than it should be, and that's when you just have to shut off the power. You just have to start fueling properly and just bring the effort level way down, because you know you're going to have to bring it up later. And if, again, on anywhere on this course, if you ignore the warning signs, it's just going to come back. It's going to bite you. It's going to get you. It's going to get you big time. So that is the bike course in a nutshell. And then the run. So coming back in a transition again, you're going to come back over here. I would assume that this area, this little, this chute is going to disappear. Or what might have to happen is you'll loop around over here on the bike, and then you'll just go in where you entered for the swim, which is probably more likely. So you'll loop around over here, go in the swim entrance, rack your own bike. I doubt they're going to have volunteers catching bikes this year. Make sure you turn off your computer or take it with you for the run if you're using one for the bike and the run together. Don't forget that, pro tip. And again, transition is going to be much the same as the swim. You're going to do all your changing right there. Make sure you bring that towel. If they have a change tent and you want to use it, you can. Just know that there's going to be longer wait times for sure. Hopping out of the transition area onto the run. This is, again, a downhill section over here. And if we go... Before we talk about run, I'm jumping ahead, getting too excited. 6 bike blanks of space in between riders, 25 seconds to pass. 3 DQs equal a disqualification. First blue card is a 5, second is a 5. And the service area, the penalty area, used to be right in here. And I would assume that that is the same, but it doesn't list it here. But I would assume that that area is the same right through there. And that's that on the run, or on the bike. Now the run, course is a little bit different this year. You're going to run out of the transition area, and that's going to be the last time you see the transition area before you pick your stuff up. You're going to run along Mirror Lake, which will be a nice welcome change this year. It won't be a steady uphill like in years past. Instead, you'll only have to do the easier side, a steady downhill, which will in turn kind of do a couple of different things. I wouldn't equate this quite to Boston Marathon running, but what I would do is I would just use this as an opportunity to get your legs back underneath you. Again, by the time you hit the beach start, yeah, you should be comfortably running for sure. If not, then you're walk running and you're just getting yourself used to things. Imagine it's an easy run for the first half a mile, okay? And if you need more time, you need more time. A lot of successful athletes on this course have spent the first couple of miles, 3-4 miles, just treating this as an easy run and then gearing up after that. The reason being is because this is a downhill section through here, right? And once you get over to where the finish line is, you have to take a left turn. You're going to go down another hill and down another hill. On the course here, the part that I'm talking about is the first initial part of this bike course, right? But instead, they drop you down Main Street, and then they drop you down again. So if we go to Satellite, here we go. The stoplight hill right through here, this is a really, really steep hill. It's a steady decline here, but then when you get down here, it's a massively steep hill, downhill. And then what we have most athletes do by the time they get to the bowling alley up here, a lot of them are walk running. And when they get to the stoplight, a lot of them just walk for the first little bit here. I mean, once you get to like the area what's called the boat takeout, I haven't heard of that before, but once you get to there, that's when you can really start to physically actually run again. A lot of the athletes who you find running down here are going to be the athletes that are struggling later on in the race. And this is not an area where you should be focused on really pushing the pace at all, really, just because it's going to be a little too aggressive to actually run. Once you get back over here, you pass what Lisa G's back through here. That is the point at which the elevation starts to pick up again through here. But again, you can get up this hill relatively easily, walk, run, and then once you get up to about here, you are just steadily going all the way past the horse grounds, which are over here, right? So this should be an easier place to run. And by the time you get to here, I mean, mile 2 is out here, right? So still not a major distance into the run. You'll have a major couple of downhills, you have a little uphill, and then you should start to find your rhythm 2.5 miles in. Again, I wouldn't really force the pace or power a lot here. You're going to have to run through the horse grounds. You're going to have to run around and not get your personal needs. You won't have access to it on the way out. You will have access to it on the way in. But once you go out, you're going to run around and you're going to down a major hill down here. And this is the second major hill right there. That's the horse grounds. You pass them, boom, dumps you back through there. And you can obviously see the inverse of that when you run back up to the horse grounds over there. But once you get past that, right, again, walk, run down this downhill. It's not super critical that you really crush this downhill, and you're going to make a left-hand turn, and that's where things really start to open up for you. Right after this bridge right here, boom, left-hand turn. See if I can turn the terrain off for us. I can't. It is what it is. Then you're going to take this left-hand turn here, and that's where the run course really, really starts. This year, it's going to be more critical than ever. Right through here, I mean, you're going to have water stops all over the place. It is a super, super area for athletes to thrive or not thrive, right? You're going to zigzag through here. When you're coming back through here, you'll be able to see the ski jumps, which is always a cool picture. But right when you come out of the forest for the first time, this is one of the only places on course where you're really able to see a really far distance on this back section. And a lot of times this can eat at athletes, and it just gets them. You got to ignore that a bit, and you just have to get through it. Again, I would use this as an opportunity to get your legs back underneath you, because once you make this right-hand turn and run past the river over here, there's going to be some ups and some downs through here, and it's just not comfortable for a little while. So this is where you really got to get used to things. Right through here. And then once you get past here, the terrain again becomes lumpy terrain. It's not crushing hills. It's not overly aggressive anywhere, but it will just come at you again and again and again, just like we talked about on the way back into town on the bike course. It's just lumpy, right? A lot of times it's really hard for athletes to kind of fall into a rhythm. On those little downhill sections, you just have to keep your legs underneath you, and on the uphill sections, you got to watch your power and just do your pace. Aid stations on this course, I don't typically prescribe this, but aid stations on this course are a great place for you to walk through, get your legs back underneath you while you are fueling, okay? Because of all the distractions over there, I mean, you're back there in the woods, there's a lot of people back there. You'll find a lot of crazy coaches back there that are illegally pacing their athletes. You'll find all kinds of interesting people. It's It's a blast and it's miserable all at the same time in a lot of different ways. And you got to slog through it. You got to keep your feet moving, and you will get through it, right? Just like if your pace doesn't come through naturally at the beginning of the run, just keep staying in it. Slow that pace, slow the power, right? And just slowly start to keep getting the food in you, keep getting the water, hydration, the liquids in you, and it will come back, and you can steadily start to ramp back up. Same thing back here, all right? A lot of times these little small hills will kind of dig at people, and there will always be one that just gets you, And that's okay. It's going to happen to everyone on this race course, probably more than once, especially on this whole back section back through here. But the good news is you will always come out of it. It will always feel better for sure. And just know that it's happening to everyone as well. And it's okay to walk run on this race for sure. If you can't do the downhills anymore, the little small downhills, don't. Just walk the downhills, run the flats and the uphills. You know, it's easy change. And then once you get back through this place over here, again, this long stretch is going to eat at you. You got to do it 4 times. Don't even think about it, all right? Use these markers. There's going to be a couple of fence posts in there. There's going to be a tree or two in there. Use the tree, like, all right, I'm going to get to that tree. Okay, I'm going to get to that fence post. Now I'm going to get to the trees over here so I can get to that aid station over here. Just target the next thing, target the next thing, target the next thing. And that can be exhausting, but it will help you get through this. And when you take this right-hand turn, it is a big uphill. You'll find a lot of athletes walking up this, and that is okay. Walk running for sure. If you can't run at all, just get up it. Just get up it. This is where you're going to have access to your personal needs area in here. I don't know how they're going to quite do that yet. But I'm sure they'll have it all ironed out, you know, so when you run, you'll probably have to run on the outside of this horse grounds, and when you run back, you'll probably run on the inside or vice versa. I don't know. You're just going to have to gauge it. They might do the, when you run out, you'll be on the inside avoiding everything. They might use these little parking lots or stables or whatnot on the outside as a place for you to gear up and get your personal needs that way. But then once you do that, right, once you pass this, and even before, you can really start running again. And that's where you're going to be able to make places up on people, because if you look at the terrain, right, it really flattens out through there for a extended period of time. This is where you're going to start to be running back into town. This is where you're going to start to get a lot of motivation again. And it's just like the bike, but the bike will last for only a couple of minutes, where the run is going to last for a lot longer, sometimes than you want it to. And it's going to be a great atmosphere in there. People are going to be going nuts in there over by Lisa G's and the alcohol store down there at the bottom of the steep hill, which you won't have to run up. Right through this area over here, right? It is notoriously popular in here. Liquids and solids. That's a great area for your spectator to hang out, get a couple drinks. Lisa G's, the same thing. I imagine the turnaround's going to be right through here, so that might be a little difficult going down and then immediately back up. But it is what it is. The atmosphere is going to be great, and if you let it eat at you, it's going to get you. It's going to get you. So you can use this time to enjoy the atmosphere and totally walk the back section, or you can kind of take the atmosphere in a little bit, use it to your advantage here and there, help it to pick you up a little bit. But never feel ashamed in this area, no matter what your pace is. Don't ever feel ashamed in there. I see a lot of athletes getting really down on themselves. Do not do that here. You're going to do the turnaround, and then you're going to run back out to the horse grounds, and then you're going to return to this lumpy section of course through there. And the turnaround, right? The turnaround's going to feel like it's further than it should be, but it's not. It's just, you're going to be going through, again, you're not going to be able to see very far ahead of you. You'll be able to hear people further than you'll be able to see them, like half a mile away. There might be an aid station that you can hear, and just try to get to the noise. Just try to get there, and just keep moving forward. And that serves as a great little marker. When you turn around, it's going to be a little depressing. There'll be like 2 or 3 guys there, and you'll turn around, they'll cheer you on, and then that's it. So just don't let that eat at you. Don't let that kind of bring you down. Just get back to the aid station. Get back to the next mile. Get back to the next aid station, and to the next hill, the next hill. Just keep kind of attacking with that mentality. Now, if you're having a great race and you're on your second loop and you're like, okay, Tyler, like this has been great. When can I attack? When can I start really putting down the power? If you're really confident in your abilities, then you can really start to up the ante right at this turnaround, maybe even slightly before. But just keep in mind, like here's mile 16. So if you up it here, you got 10 miles to go before you are done. So you got to be really confident in your ability if you are going to do that. Turnaround is the first spot. Second spot where you can start to kind of pour the coals on a little bit is going to be mile 20. And the third spot's going to be right before this personal needs area or afterwards. Because again, terrain flattens out and you only have to worry about a couple other hills out on the race course. Because by that point, this big hill will be over. This is a super common place for people to gain superpowers in there. So if you can gain your superpowers a little before then, you're going to have an opportunity to kind of nip some people at the line. And last time I'm going to go to Google Maps, I promise. Once you get past the horse grounds, you're going to sneak in through over here. This is a flatter section over here. Once you get back down through here, don't be surprised if you can't run up this hill. Most people can't. It's very steep, very, very steep. Walk, run it, and typically you can come out of the walking right around this corner over here. Now this year, the finish line is going to be probably right through over here. Up into the Japanese steakhouse, maybe even slightly before that. I don't think they're going to put it at this crosswalk over here. I don't think they'll be that cruel, but you never know. You never know. If they do, it's only right there, which means you just have a little bit, and this is going to be a really tough section for a lot of people because it's slightly uphill right there for sure. It's going to be more uphill than you want to, but the further you get, the less uphill degrees it is. So that is the race course in a nutshell, all right? The areas on the run that you're going to really need to be focusing on your nutrition, this rest stop for sure. Do not miss this one. It should be easy. Get this one as well. The first two, pace it easy, right? You're going to have lots of opportunities to get through the run with your nutrition, but do not skip the first two on the run or the bike, okay? Do not do that. Pace it easy, pace it slow for these first couple of miles. And then once you get past over here, past Lisa G's, past the other restaurant over there, then you can start to go back up to your targeted race pace after that. But I wouldn't try to do it before. I would use this as a way to get your legs back underneath you. Chances are you're going to need it after the bike. Now, let's talk about how things can go sour on this course. Sometimes you'll get off the bike and you'll just feel terrible. You'll feel gross. You won't be able to run, and it's just a bad situation. Just walk for a little while. Just walk for a little while. Every minute or so, try to do 10 steps of running. You know, after that, build it back up to 20. Build it up to 30. Start to run 10 seconds. Walk 10 seconds. You know, the pyramid could always go down, but it can always go up. If you're having a great day and you just need to walk, you're running a mile, you're walking for 10 seconds, right? If not, if it's going really terrible, you're walking 10 steps, you're running 1, right? It can go all the way down, but realize that if you are going down, something's wrong. If your pacing starts to falter, if you start to cramp up, if you start to notice that you got salt marks all over your clothes, those are very big indications that things aren't going right. If you start to get a headache, corrections. That's going to be the big thing out on the race course. Just react to it. As soon as you see what's happening, just react. If you see you got salt marks on your clothes, you know that you're excreting more minerals than you're gaining, right? Big indication that you need to take in more. And if you have to slow down and do that, do it. Do it. You're going to thank me when you get to mile 23 on the run, right? You're going to thank me because it will come back, but it just takes a little while to come back. You got to be patient with this stuff. If you start to cramp up, slow down, start taking more fluids, reevaluate what you've done over the last hour and a half to 3 hours. If you are really struggling to put the pace down, slow down. Slow down by 10 seconds, 10 watts, 15 watts, right? And then see if you can maintain that. If you can maintain that for a mile or so, then okay, let's see if I can go up 5 seconds and then go back up to race goal, right? And if you can't, you can't. And that's okay. That is okay. Find your pace, find your goal, and march all the way to the finish line. You got this. It's one of the best courses out on the circuit. It is probably one of my favorites. Many other people will say the same thing. If you guys have any other questions about this race course, I know I babbled on for probably way too long, but it's one of my favorites, and I will talk to you guys soon.